This video covers troubleshooting steps for diagnosing issues that can prevent the starting and proper operation of Hipower's natural gas-fueled sets.
Before troubleshooting, verify if your unit is with or without pressure regulators. When a generator fails to start, the first thing to check is the gas-fuel connection. To check gas pressure on a unit without a pressure regulator, hook up a gauge to the valve as indicated on the fuel cutoff solenoid. After hooking up the gauge, open the valve and check if the pressure reads between 7 and 11 inches of water column. After checking, close the inlet valve before removing the gauge. The following procedure should be followed to check gas pressure on a unit equipped with pressure regulators and a water separator. The gas is connected on the left-hand side of the water separator. The gauges on top of the water separator are there to monitor input and output pressure. When the secondary gauge shows a difference of 5 psi to the first gauge, that is an indication to change the filter. The filter should also be changed every 1500 hours. Gas flows from the water separator to the generator's engine, and the first of 3 gauges in the line should register 100 psi or less. The input gas pressure is reduced in a 2-step process. The first regulator drops the pressure from 100 psi or less to 10 psi. The second regulator reduces the pressure from 10 psi to a factory setting of 10.5 inches of water column. The final gas pressure exiting the second regulator is indicated on the third gauge and should read between 7 and 11 inches of water column. As stated, the factory setting is normally 10.5 inches of water column. If the gas pressure is not between 7 and 11 inches of water column, first, adjust the first regulator located between the first and second gauges. Note the position for adjusting the regulator located between the first 2 gauges. The final input gas pressure can also be adjusted by accessing the port to the second pressure regulator between the second and third gauges. Adjust the regulator so that the third and final pressure gauge is showing between 7 and 11 inches of water column. Therefore, first adjust the regulator between gauge 1 and 2, then adjust the second regulator between gauges 2 and 3. When the pressure is verified as correct and the engine still will not start, the next step is to ensure the fuel valve is in the open position as indicated. If the unit still does not start, the next step is to check with a meter if 24 volts is being measured across the fuel cutoff solenoid. Also, if you put your hand on the valve, you can feel if it's working or not. Should the engine still not start, even though the gas pressure is correct and fuel valves are operational, the next stage is to check the fuses in the engine fuse box located on the side of the engine. Any blown fuses should be replaced after checking the circuit they control, and then try to start the engine again. Having checked the gas pressure, fuel flow, and fuses, and the unit still does not start, you will have to check the PSI software on your laptop computer to determine any controller issue that is preventing start. The hookup is located on the flywheel end of the engine. Remove the protective cap and connect the computer link. Ensure the hookup cable is not adjacent to any hot surface. You will know the controller hookup is in the on position when the green light is lit on the computer hookup link. Hook the USB end of the controller hook to your computer. From your computer, click the e-control icon to access the software that should already be on your computer. If password installed, just enter it. Initially, when you connect, the monitor box at the top left will indicate not connected and the box at the top right attempting to connect. To enable connection, push the red button on the controller once, then the green button. The monitor at the top left will highlight in green that the software controls are connected, and the top right will indicate connection rate. From the top left page drop-down menu, scroll down and click on Faults. Displayed will be active faults or historic faults. Any fault should be corrected and the unit should start. The final issue to troubleshoot is why the unit will not generate its rated power. We have to check if the pressure is too low in the intercooler and exhaust due to any loose connections. First, check the intercooler fittings and ensure there are no leaks and the fittings are tight. You can also do a manual check by putting your hand around the connection to verify there is no air coming out. Also, check the other intercooler connection behind the control panel as indicated. Check the intercooler fittings to the radiator and the engine. Any leaks will cause loss of engine performance. Precaution should be taken when checking exhaust connection fittings. If leaks were not found in the intercooler connections, the exhaust connections should be checked next. Before checking, shut the unit down and let any surfaces around the exhaust connections cool down. To recap, follow the troubleshooting steps in this order if the unit will not start. check the gas supply connection to the generator set.
Verify the gas pressure to the engine is between 7 and 11 inches of water column.
For units without a regulator, connect the manometer to the fuel shutoff valve inlet. For units with regulators, read the gauges and make adjustments to the first, then second regulator. Verify the gas valve is open.
Check that the gas pressure to the shutoff valve via the access valve is between 7 and 11 inches of water column. If the pressure is within limits, check the fuses in the engine fuse panel.
If the unit still does not start, connect to the e-control software and check the faults page. Should the unit not pull full load, check the exhaust and intercooler connections.
This completes our video on troubleshooting natural gas high-power generator sets.